everybody, what is up? It's me back with another video for you, looking like a Pepto-Bismol elf who fell in a florist. I don't know. Anyway, hi, how are you? Hope you're good. So, well, I know that good is a stretch in these times, but I hope you're doing as well as you can. Anyway, this video is going to be a little bit about HBO and their new Harry Potter series that's allegedly meant to be coming out in 2026, which, yeah, I know that is a little way off, but it's something that I wanted to talk about because it's something that's been in the news quite recently because, of course, of J.K. Rowling. Now, we all know J.K. Rowling. If you're somebody who follows me or, you know, follows Twitter or anything like that, you will know that J.K. Rowling is transphobic. J.K. Rowling uses transphobia under the guise of keeping women's spaces for women and keeping them safe. Now, I'm somebody who I've been essayed and graped in my life, and I don't share J.K. Rowling's opinions at all about having trans women in women's spaces. You know, I think that trans women are women and should be allowed in any women's spaces.
So let's get into this. So Warner Brothers revealed in 2023 plans for an adaptation of the Harry Potter novels for Max, now also HBO. We're not doing any side stories or prequels like Fantastic Beasts. This is the real thing with a TV series allowing for much more depth in the telling of the story than we got from the film series that starred Daniel Radcliffe. Each of the movies was between 2 and 3 hours long. But these are going to be series coming out, so they're going to be much more in depth, much longer. I feel like it's important to know how much J.K. Rowling will be involved with this series, just for people who might be casual watchers who aren't aware of Rowling's transphobia. I was just curious to look it up and see how involved she actually is in all of this after all of her controversy. According to them, the answer is very, very involved in the process, selecting the writer and the director and stipulating that her views on trans people haven't affected the casting or hiring of writers or production staff. I also think it's important to note that HBO have said that working with J.K. Rowling over the last 20 years, she's been invaluable. Now, I don't know about that. For me, that is a big red flag and makes me want to boycott HBO.
Aside from the fact that J.K. Rowling is very, very heavily involved in this series, I did also find out that former actors who were in the Harry Potter movies, well, some of them are coming back to do this series as a different character. So the actor who played Draco Malfoy, he wants to come back and play his father in the series. He's clearly not bothered about J.K. Rowling's transphobia then. But we do know that Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, they've all, you know, said no to J.K. Rowling working with her. They've denounced her on social media, coming out and saying that they don't agree with her views. But I thought it was interesting that some actors are ready to just take the paycheck. Draco Malfoy, he's going back as his father. Well, I guess he really is a Slytherin then. In a time where we're seeing transgender people leave the UK for other countries because they no longer feel safe here as transgender people, they feel like their rights are under too much threat. It's very, very choice to go back to somebody like J.K. Rowling, who's extremely transphobic, and take the paycheck. It's not the one, if you ask me. I think it's a horrible look. And speaking of horrible look, speaking of horrible look, well, you probably think that this is horrible, but whatever. Speaking of horrible look, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Jeffree Star. I know I've made 2 videos about him recently, but This one's going to be a little bit different because I recently saw Adam McIntyre make a video talking about the essay allegations that Jeffree Star has against him. Now, I've had people in my comments who have been kind of sticking up for Jeffree Star and saying that he's not that bad, he's not as bad as James Charles, all the rest of it. Well, honestly, I think they're both as bad as each other. Personally, I don't care for either of them. Wouldn't trust either of them as far as I could throw them, which probably wouldn't be very far because I'm old as fuck. But I want to get into this because people seem to have forgotten that Jeffree Star also covered up for another P word. He covered up for Vanity, who was his friend back in the MySpace days from Blood on the Dance Floor, who were like an emo type band. So Jeffree had a friendship with Vanity from the band Blood on the Dance Floor. Now, Vanity is a well-known P word. He is a well-known P word. He has been in so much trouble with the law for, how can I put it, for essaying underage people. Now, Jeffree Star, years ago, put up a tweet calling Vanity out for being a child P word. And then, a few months later, Jeffree went back on himself, took those tweets back. Oh no, Dovey and I are all good. As if he didn't just call him out for being a P word, for essaying people. Now, Jeffree covered up for Dovey then. Years after, I don't know if you guys remember, but Jeffree Star went on the Chris Hansen podcast back in the pandemic. He went on the Chris Hansen podcast. He talked about Vanity. He talked about the fact that he tweeted about Dovey and then took those tweets back. According to Jeffree at the time of the Chris Hansen podcast, during the Chris Hansen podcast, Jeffree decided to say that he hadn't actually seen Vanity doing anything illegal. But let me tell you, there's plenty of proof of Vanity doing things that are illegal.
This is just a tiny little taste of that. Here you can see Vanity talking with an underage girl. So he says to her, "It's okay, my love, moi." And then she responds saying, "I don't know what your problem is, before that night, you were my hero. I looked up to you since I was 13. I know what you did with Kyla that night." And here's another little taste, a HuffPost article where Dovey has assaulted a 16-year-old girl. A 16-year-old girl who never got justice.
I don't know what you guys think, but knowing that Jeffree also has essay allegations out against him, Jeffree is said to have assaulted a young guy called Gage Arthur, who was a homeless guy at the time. He was 19 and Jeffree assaulted him when he was 26. So that's according to all the articles on the internet. There are loads out there, you can find them. All you have to do is Google. So Jeffree having his own allegations of essay, and then the fact that he's covered for people like Vanity, well, that tells me everything I need to know. These types of people, I think they tend to hang out together. A lot like the whole Diddy party situation, I think they're all in it together, they hang out together, and I wouldn't trust any of them. So I'm going to stop this little video right here. I'm going to say take care, stay safe, stay well. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.